Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. I'm your host, Trage, coming back at you for another week of Wisconsin Sports. Today we're taking a dive into the Brewers. It's a little bit of Brewers news. Just got done with a series with the White Sox. Looking forward to the Dodgers coming up here next and the Rangers. We'll get into some Dodgers talk, talking about what we expect to see. And then we're going to talk a little bit of Packer preseason football. Got the win against the Bengals. We'll cover everything there is and look at the box for that game and some takeaways from that game. With that, we will start with the Brewers. And we're looking into this last weekend. Got the series sweep, and it's expected. Division leader going against a team that has been struggling this year. The most fire that they've shown is Tim Anderson getting in a fight with Jose Ramirez. So, I mean, we expected this to happen. We expected the Brewers to be able to take care of them. It wasn't the prettiest of wins or series wins that we've seen. You took game one, and we'll talk about that here. 7-6 on Friday night. Mark Canna had the go-ahead double there in the 10th to win it for him. Looking at the box here, for the Brewers, Yelich, decent game, 1 for 4. He's been a solid guy at the top of the lineup. Contreras had a good game, 2 for 6 in there with 2 RBIs. He got that average up 278. Santana had a good series for the Brewers, 228 average. He is 2 for 6 in this game here. Frelick and Adamas each contributed a hit. Adamas had 2 RBIs in that game, so good news there for Willie is that he was producing in the RBI spot. And then we look down that lineup there. Caratini had 2 hits. Weimer had one. Canna came in for that pinch hit double. So that was a big move by Council there, getting Canna into the game, and Canna actually delivered for him. Burns struggled a little bit. 5 earned runs in this game in 5 2/3 innings. 8 hits, 5 strikeouts, 1 home run, giving up 3 walks. But then the bullpen came in. Paguero gave up a run in an inning and a third, but he only gave up 2 hits. And then Pampas followed him with no runs. Devin Williams came in, and then Abner Uribe actually came in and finished it out there in the 10th for the Brewers. Looking at game two of that series there with the White Sox Saturday, Brandon Woodruff got the start for the Brewers. He pitched an excellent game for the Crew. 6 1/3 innings pitched, 2 earned runs, 4 hits, 5 strikeouts, 1 walk given up, 1 home run. So solid outing from Woody there. Then Milner came in for an inning and a third. Paguero had a third of an inning, and then Devin Williams came in and closed it down in an inning of relief. He gave up 1 hit and 3 strikeouts. So a good game there pitching wise for the Brewers. And then looking in our lineup, Monasterio was the big guy for him. 2 hits for him, 2 for 4 in the game. Tyrone Taylor had the big RBI double. He had a hit for the Brewers too. Scattered hits throughout the lineup. Otherwise, for the Brewers, Adames, Frelick, Contreras, Yelich. Looking down the lineup here, that was about it for hitting for the Brewers. So another offensive struggling night for the Brewers. Sucks to see it, especially against Schultens, who was coming into that game with a 1-5 record. 1-4 before that game there. But a struggling starting pitching, and this Brewers offense still couldn't find that edge to get the number on them. And then we look at game three of the series, and that was a 7-3 win for the Brewers on Sunday here. Freddie Peralta, a great outing, a fourth straight quality start in a row here. Looking at the box for the Brewers, Freddie went 6 innings, 4 hits, 6 Ks, 3 walks, no runs given up. A great outing from Freddie. And then Uribe came in for an inning of relief, 1 strikeout, 1 hit. Chafin came in next. And then JC Mejia struggled a little bit there coming in the ninth, trying to close down that 7-run game. And he gave up 3 runs on an inning of relief, 4 hits, no strikeouts. So the Brewers got her done. It's a good start, but we aren't blowing these big games out. I mean, you look at like the White Sox series. That's a series that you should have been able to take one of these games and kind of just blow them out. You shouldn't have had these many games go into extra innings or be in close contest with these teams. But well, a win's a win. we look at it as a win's a win, and we hope to see it keep going for the Brewers. They actually moved 3.5 games up in the division rank standings after this game. So that did help the Reds, the Cubs, both struggling a little bit here in the weekend. So good news for the Brewers there. They moved up in the division. Uh, in this game, Canna's looking a little bit better. He was 2 for 3 in the game. Got that average up 242 now. Monasterio another hit, and then just spread out hitting again for the Brewers. Adamas with a hit, Frelick, Santana with a hit. He had actually 3 RBIs for the Brewers, a big 3-run home run that actually turned out to be the big difference in this ball game. And then Yelich 1 for 3 effort for him with 2 RBIs. Good game. I still would love to see this offense kind of pick it up for the Brewers. They have still been struggling, and I've seen a lot of people talking about Craig Counsell and the usage of his pitchers, and I get it. Sometimes it seems like Craig Counsell leaves a guy in too long. He really does. He doesn't get a guy warming up. He kind of does the ride or die. This is going to happen with him, or we're not going to get out of this inning. And sometimes it's a struggle because you look at early on in the season, he gets criticized for when he pulls guys too early, and he hears about it all night long, then all week long. And then when he doesn't pull a guy, then he gets the shaft for it too. He's trying to push all the right buttons. He's trying to do a ride or die with, especially guys like Corbin Burns. He's hoping that Burns can, being your Cy Young winner, your ace, you're supposed to be your ace of your staff. You're hoping a guy like that can get you out of big innings and get you moving on and get the offense back out there. I could see it with some of the younger guys where he pulls them a little bit earlier, or Wade Miley, who's got that injury risk. But I don't really have a problem with what Craig Counsell does with the pitching staff. He tries to ride and die with his main guys, his ace, and well, I mean his 3 quote unquote aces of this staff, and Freddie Peralta, Woodruff, and Burns. He'll let them have a little bit longer release. He trusts them a little bit more. He wants them to get out of the innings that they get themselves into, and when they can't, then he bites the bullet for them, and he'll go and pull his starter and get another guy in there. So I don't really have a problem with Craig Counsell and his bullpen usage, or well, pitcher usage in that sense. Besides that, like I said, they move up 3.5 games in the division there. Won 4 in a row now. They're sitting at 65 and 54. The Cubs coming in at 61 and 57. And then the Cincinnati Reds coming in at 62 and 58. So hoping to keep that division lead here going into. They gave themselves, a lot of people, like they said, giving themselves a little bit of breathing room going into this Dodgers and Rangers series where it could be a struggle and there could be that potential where they only win a game. They only win 1 of 3. Would love to see the Brewers get 2 of 3 in one of these series, and if they win 1 of 3 in the other, I could live with that. Or if they're able to somehow get that series sweep, I could live with that too. I mean, I'm not going to complain one bit. But the Dodgers have been playing good. The Rangers have been playing good. So those 2 series are going to be huge series for this Brewers team. Looking at this Dodgers series, that'll start up here on Tuesday. It's going to be a big series for the Brewers. They got an off day today, and then they're looking towards the Dodgers and then the Rangers right after that. So we'll cover that a little bit more here, getting to the Dodgers preview. Besides that, I was looking towards talking about the Brewers' run differential here, and you look at the run differential right now. They're sitting at 513 runs scored and 503 uh, 500, 507 actually allowed. So they're sitting at a +6 run differential right now for the Brewers. That tells me this offense is not producing at a very high clip, and then their pitching staff is giving up a little bit of runs here, but it's balancing itself out. You look at it like a team at let's look at division leading Baltimore Orioles right now. Their differentials at +65. They've scored 575 runs. They've allowed 510. The Tampa Bay Rays, their run differential is actually at +139. They're sitting at 620 runs scored, 481 runs allowed. And you look at a team even in like third place in the AL East right now with the Blue Jays. They're +59, 540 to 481. That's showing that this Brewers team is about as average as it gets. We're not going to score many runs. We're going to play dogfights. They're in dogfights of games right now. They're all close. They don't blow anybody out. They like to let teams hang around, and that's where we're at right now. Is that it's a dogfight. They're in a dogfight constantly. You look at teams that they're beating right now in the division. The Chicago Cubs, their run differential right now, their runs scored is 597 and their runs allowed is 533. That shows you where the Cubs are at offensively, where the Brewers are at offensively. This Brewers team isn't going to they aren't going to light you up. They're not going to blow you out of the water. They're going to stay in the game, and if they beat you, generally it's going to be a 1 to 2 run game, and that's about it. That is plain and simple where we're at with this Brewers team right now. And I think looking at it, that's where you're running into a lot of these games where the Brewers cannot compete with the big dogs right now. Their offense can't compete with the big dogs. You look at like Los Angeles, the Dodgers out there, plus 136 in their run differential right now. The Atlanta Braves sitting at plus 193 in their run differential right now. Those are two other division leaders in the NL right now, and the Brewers aren't even close. They're not even close to what those guys are putting up offensively right now. 684 runs the Braves have scored. 664 runs the Dodgers have scored. 513 for the Brewers. We're sitting that far back at two other division leaders, and that's leading up into if the Brewers get into the playoffs as they would get in as the 3 seed right now, you are no better than looking at the Phillies getting in as a wild card or the Giants getting in as a wild card right now. And both of those teams have run differentials of plus 18 and plus 33. That's showing you that their offense is a little bit better. We know how to score a couple more runs. We can put runs across the board. Our pitching staff might not be able to do it, but we can put runs across the board. And that's where we're looking at. This pitching staff is what really carries this Brewers team and keeps that engine going game after game for this Brewers team. And then another topic I wanted to cover, and this one I kind of got into a little bit there last week for the Brewers, and that is Willie Adames. And I kind of was thinking about it, and I've been having some thoughts about it, and looking at Willie Adames. If we look at Willie's career stats, and I never really thought about that. Looking back and seeing Willie Adames, and you look at what he did before he came to the Brewers, he was an average hitter. He was nothing better than an average hitter. He wasn't this top of the lineup guy that the Brewers are trying to force him into the role of. He was a career 240. He's a career 247 hitter. 2019, he was hitting 254 for the Tampa Bay Rays. Before coming to the Brewers in 2021, he was sitting at 197 before coming over. And then he did find a spark there, and he finished that season at a 285 clip. And that's kind of where we thought to ourselves, okay, this is what we expect out of Willie Adames. But you look back into his career there, you get what you get with Willie. He's an average hitter. He's not a top of the lineup hitter. He is a 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 hitter in your lineup. And that's what the Brewers really need to express with him and just kind of let him go back down to that and be that guy for you. Don't try to jump with him. Don't try to expect him to be that 4 hole hitter, to be that big 3 hole, 2 hole hitter, the guy who's going to carry your offense. He surprised us in 2021, came in, lit a spark. That's what got the Brewers over the hump that year. 2022 came in, he would hit 31 home runs, he had 98 RBIs, the average 238. His power numbers went up, the average didn't. The average stayed towards his career average. Now we look towards 2023. He's batting his career. I mean, he's not up to his career average of 247 right now, but he's hitting his career average in the sense of it's a low 200s. He's going to sit around that low 200s. He's going to get on base every once in a while. He's not going to blow you out of the water, and he's not going to hit all-star numbers. He's going to hit the home run. As we've seen in this past now, 18 home runs right now, he's going to hit home runs. That's what we know. In 2018, we look at his home run total. He had 10 home runs in 2018. We look at the 2019 season, he's sitting at 20 home runs. And then in 2020 or 2020, we'll count that as the COVID year. So I really don't count that for stats, but he had 8 home runs for this team, for the Rays team. 2021, he had 5 home runs before coming to the Brewers. Then he had 20, so we'll give him 25 there on the season. 31 in 2022 and 18 right now in 2023. He's developing into a power he's developing into a power bat without much, without the numbers really behind it right now. So that's where we're looking at Willie Adames, and that's where I'm saying he is a career 247 hitter. It made me look at him underneath of a different microscope when I really thought, look back at Willie Adames and see what he's been in the past. And now I'm seeing that we're getting what Willie Adames has been throughout his career, and that is an average hitter who isn't much better than average. And that's what I think we're going to have to come to the realization with Willie Adames. And that's just okay. And we're not, it's not going to demand a huge contract for a guy who's in the past couple of seasons been batting low 200s. You can't expect a huge contract if you're a guy like that right now for the Brewers, especially for the Brewers, a team that we've noticed really won't fork out the money when it's needed. And you're not going to fork out the money for a guy who isn't producing for you. I don't know what kind of trade or what kind of trade value a guy like Willie Adames is going to even have for this Brewers team. Maybe a couple prospects, or maybe it's just as good to just let him sit. But you really don't want to let him sit because you can't handle a struggling bat like this in your lineup. So you can find a trade for him. Find a trade. I don't know if there's a team out there that thinks they can fix him. His swing is all over the place right now. I don't think he's mentally in the game right now. Maybe he's hurt, and that's what's affecting him a little bit in his swing. I don't know. We talked about that last week, but I'm just looking at career wise, this is the Willie Adames that we expected. Besides that, we do have a little bit of relocation rumors for the Brewers. It was talked about, it's been talked about a lot this weekend for the Brewers. Relocation, they're supposed to be visiting the relocation possibility this fall and trying to find some new locations. And I just wanted to cover, I did see a lot of people talking about and a lot of people sharing it. I did want to cover the lease agreement between Southeast Wisconsin Professional Baseball Park District and the Milwaukee Brewers. So the Brewers only pay about 1.2 million per year to lease the stadium. That's not a lot to lease that stadium because that is a state-of-the-art stadium. Initial stadium construction costs were from 90 million provided by the Brewers, 310 from the 5-county sales tax. So the Brewers did not pay much for this new stadium that they moved themselves into. An additional 72 million infrastructure costs came from the city of Milwaukee, 18 million, Milwaukee County 18 million, and 36 million from the state of Wisconsin. The Brewers need written permission to even ask the National League to leave Milwaukee or to begin negotiations to sell the team to a new owner who would move them. So the Brew Crew fans are going to have to sign off to get this team out of Milwaukee. So good luck to you. The Brewers actually own 29.07% of the stadium. The district owns 70.93%. The Brewers hold 5 two-year options to extend the lease past its original expiry date year of 2030. The district is responsible for all capital repairs and all roof projects. The Brewers are responsible for all maintenance of the stadium complex. If the district doesn't like anything the Brewers are doing with regards to their end of the lease agreement, they can apply for injunctive relief in the form of temporary restraining order. So it's looking like it's about 17 years away that this relocation thing could potentially really take effect for the Brewers. And I just don't see the city of Milwaukee wanting the Brewers gone. I think they see that the revenue is there. They want to keep the Brewers. They love having the Brewers in town. I don't think I saw a lot of people who were talking and putting the Brewers stadium where they did was a struggle and this and that. I don't have a problem with having the Brewers stadium right where it is. It's on 94 coming into Milwaukee. You don't want to move something like that too far in town or into the city of Milwaukee. You want to leave it on the outskirts just a little bit so that way you can keep it away from all that busy traffic, keep it away from the city limits, and kind of push it out towards the outside. Allow people to have that freedom out there. So I'm not. I've seen a lot of people talking about that. I'm not opposed to where the Brewers built the stadium. I don't think that's what's causing the struggle here. You still get. I mean, you look at the stadium attendance for an owner that doesn't really put the best team together, or quote unquote the best team, what not what he thinks, what we think. We look at this team, he puts an average team on the field every year that's just going to get him enough wins to stay competitive, possibly sneak into the playoffs, but never get him over the hump into the World Series. You look at that, you say, well, we're no different. If the pitching staff struggled, we would be the Oakland A's. We would be no different than the Oakland A's. And that's what keeps Mark Ananasio really relevant there in the ownership role, is that fans continue to show up to watch this game. And I can't blame them. I mean, we love, as Brewer fans, we love going to the ballpark. We love tailgating. We love going in. We love seeing our guys. And I'm not blaming a single Brewer fan for showing up to these games, but if we were like the Oakland A's, and if we didn't have the pitching staff, we'd be pretty darn close. And we were struggling, we could boycott the Brewer games. And I don't know if Mark Ananasio would see what he's got going on then, truthfully, because Brewer fans don't show it. You look at a lot of online group sites and group chats and groups on the Facebook, Twitter talk, everything like that. You look at those kind of talks and you say, there's a lot of angry Brewer fans. They don't understand the moves that Mark Ananasio or this front office make. They don't understand where his money is going into this organization. They don't see what he's really doing to benefit the ball club year in and year out, giving money, sending Josh Hader away because he can't pay him. Everybody liked to talk about that was David Stearns who made that trade. Mark Ananasio made that trade. He threw David Stearns underneath the bus when he said, "Oh, David thought it was a good move at the time." No, 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 no. David Stearns was the guy who brought in Christian Yelich. David Stearns was the guy who brought in Lorenzo Cain, who decided Mike Moustakas was a good guy. Travis Shaw was a great guy. He was the guy who put the team together that went to the NLCS. Mark Ananasio told David Stearns, "We cannot afford to pay Josh Hader this next season. Get me in trade. Let's get him out of here before his contract's up and we can't afford to trade him anymore. Let's get maximum trade value." And in the end, it did work out. We got Pompous, we got William Contreras, Paguero. We got guys. I'm not saying we didn't, but you look at a trade like that. David Stearns is a smart baseball mind. I don't think David Stearns thought in the middle of a division race, let's trade the all-star closer who could potentially then this Brewers team looks down their line and they go, "So you didn't upgrade anything. All you did was trade away our bullpen." So with this Brewers team, and that's where I'm getting at with this relocation, is that I don't know if Mark Ananasio truthfully likes the Brewers in Milwaukee. I've always thought of Mark Ananasio as kind of like that lady. I can't remember her name now off Major League, the movie, who constantly wants to move the Cleveland Indians out of Cleveland. She wants to go down to Florida, or she wants to get out of there, go someplace warm. Mark Ananasio would be a-okay moving the Brewers into a bigger market town. He wants the Brewers to be in somewhere huge where he can get his name in the paper and have everybody know about him. I don't truthfully trust Mark Ananasio. I might be different than you guys listening out there. I might be different than you guys people who are talking to you. But for me, I'm not a fan of the way Mark Ananasio has been running the Brewers lately. Not in the slightest bit. I think there's been lots of times at the trade deadline and the offseason where they could have forked over a little bit more money or upgraded at certain positions, and we kind of just stayed stagnant, or we went with the C option. We didn't go with A or B options. We went with C option. And that's where I'm with this relocation is that I don't trust Mark Anastasio really wants to stay in Milwaukee. So I don't think he's going to put the money towards doing his upgrades due to this lease agreement for the Brewers to stay around town here. But besides that, I think that's all I got for Brewers talk here leading up into this Monday. We're going to talk a little bit of Packers preseason over this last weekend. They took care of the Bengals there, 36-19. Excuse me. I mean, Jordan Love played a couple series there. 7 for 10. He was 46 yards. He had one touchdown in that game at 112 rating. Love looked decent. He looked okay. Didn't do too much. Had a great throw to the back of the end zone there for a touchdown. I mean, you can't knock. He had a decent outing. Sean Clifford actually one of the backups for the Packers this season. I thought he looked good. 20 besides the two interceptions, 20 for 26, 208 yards and one touchdown and 27 yards on the ground for him and two carries. A decent game out of Sean Clifford. A good game. I mean, it was a good game by the quarterbacks in general there for the Packers. Looking at our rushing, Patrick Taylor, he had 19 yards for the Packers on 6 carries, 3.2 yards per carry. And Emmanuel Wilson, 111 yards on the ground and 6 carries, 18 and a half yards, 2 touchdowns. Tyler Goodson had a touchdown for him and 2 yards, 3 carries. AJ Dillon had a little bit of work. He had 14 yards on 2 carries, 7 yards an average. And then Nate McGrary, he had 13 yards on 4 carries, 3.3 as his average. Magoo came in. He had -3 yards rushing. He didn't come into the stats there for the Packers passing wise. He had 1 sack. That's about it. Otherwise, did not throw a pass or complete a pass. But he had -3 yards rushing there, -1 yards on average. But that has to do with that sack there. Looking at our receiving front here, Wicks came in. He had 68 yards receiving on 3 catches, 22-yard average, and his long was actually 47 yards on 4 targets. Samori Torre, 56 yards on 3 catches, 4 targets. He had 18.7 yards per attempt there. Malik Heath, 36 yards on 3 catches, 12 average. And then Romeo Dobbs caught that touchdown pass there from Love. He had 21 yards on 2 catches, 2 targets, 10.5 on his average. Jaden Reed, 20 yards, 2 catches. He had 2 targets there. Christian Watson on 2 targets. He had 6 yards. And that is about it there. Davis. Davis actually 9 yards, 2 catches. He had a touchdown for the Packers there. Looking down here on the defensive front there for the Packers. Carrington Valentine actually looked good in there. He had 4 tackles, 4 solo tackles actually for the Packers there. Besides that, Keyshawn Nixon got in there for a sack. Tackle for loss. Shamir John Charles, he had a tackle for the loss out there. Valentine had a tackle for a loss. That is about it on bigger news there on the defense for the Packers. But otherwise, I mean, it was a good game. I gotta say, I was surprised with the work of Sean Clifford, but being a Badger fan, I saw him with Penn State all those years, and I thought he had always been a decent quarterback. And then watching it with the Packers there, it transferred over to the NFL ranks. He played pretty good for him. Some takeaways from that game. Keyshawn Nixon, he's going to be your kick returner, punt returner this season. But Tyler Goodson and Samori Torre could be some valuable backup options for the Packers. Sean Clifford, like we said, he looked good. Emmanuel Wilson, I think he's going to get that third running back spot for the Packers. He had a great game there. Looks like he could potentially slide into that third role for him. Tyler Davis, actually, in not so good news for the Packers. Tyler Davis did have that touchdown catch for him, but he had suffered a torn ACL, and it looks like he's going to be out for the season for the Packers. So that sucks to see. Big heart, great player for the Packers. He really affects that tight end room for him. So hopefully Tyler Davis gets better and we can see him back out on the field sometime here. I'd like to say in the near future, but I don't think we'll see him in the near future. I think it's going to be pointing more towards the 2024 return for Tyler Davis into this Packers lineup. Uh, I was surprised though, looking at the young receivers for him. Wicks and Torrey and Heath had good games. Dobbs and Dobbs only played a little bit of action there along with Watson, but Jane Reed had a great catch there for a touchdown. So this Packers younger receiving core, they look good. And like we were talking about Carrington Valentine, he looked good for the Packers. He broke up 3 passes, had an interception. So good news there for the secondary is that Carrington Valentine will be a big contributor in there for the Packers going into this next season. Injuries were big for him. Tyler Goodson got hurt. Caleb Jones and Luke Tenuto got hurt, and so did Corey Ballantyne. Not just Tyler Davis. We had a couple other injuries to deal with. Jair Alexander is dealing with a groin injury. He didn't play in the game for the Packers. Joshua DeGuerro was eased back after calf issue. So they're having some injury issues early on here, but hopefully off to a good start for the Packers. Hopefully we'll see those guys back in the lineup for the Packers at some point here. It's looking like Josh Myers. He did start at center as expected, but he's still under pressure for the starting job right now. Zach Tom and John Runyon Jr. are putting some pressure on him behind Myers there in the offensive line role. Besides that, right now, that is about it that I have for preseason takeaways for the Packers. It was a good all around game for this Packers team. Good one to start with. And it was good to see Jordan Love get out there and just, he looked solid. He looked fluent. He looked like he could run this offense. And that's what I think we really wanted to see. I'm glad that he got that series in him, scored that touchdown. It wasn't a huge series, for only 46 yards on 7 of 10 passing, but he showed that he's poised. He didn't rush. He has control of this offense. He has control of the huddle, and that's what I think we really wanted to see out of Jordan Love there in that first game was how rusty will Jordan Love be going into this first preseason game, and I don't think there was much rust at all. I think he jumped right in, and it was all good, all business from the front there, and he was ready to rock and roll. So good news there for the Packers and Jordan Love, Matt LaFleur, ready to go here going into this next season and going into this next game. He's going to have the Patriots coming up here this next week, Saturday. So we'll dive into that a little bit more this week as news comes out about this Packers team. But good first game over the weekend. Got the little bit of jitters out for Jordan Love and Packer fans who were nervous about Jordan Love. So good to see there. Other than that, that's about it that I have for Brewers talk for the day. I'm glad you are Brewers and Packers talk for the day. I'm glad you guys had a chance to give me a listen. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you can. I kept you guys entertained for this short little podcast here, leading up into the rest of the week here. We'll jump into the Brewers a little bit more this week, a little bit of Badger talk, and some more Packer talk to keep us rolling. But with that, this has been Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. Thank you guys for listening. Deuces, Brew Crew.